three, that's it. So I talk loud. That's what she said. And that was what I wanted. Okay. Okay. Call the meeting to order. We're just having a board meeting in the beginning. The regular meeting where you guys are maybe interested in will start at 7, but right now we have a work meeting for the 5 of us. We were a little late getting started because we had missing batteries for one of the recorders, and I wanted to make sure the recorder was actually working before I started the meeting. So, thank you guys. Well, at least the 5 of us on this work meeting. The first thing I have on here for us to talk about is an emergency management. And that is something I've been interested in for a while, is us having an emergency manager here in Durham. And the state code has an emergency manager act that was passed a few years back. And one of the things it asks for is for each subdivision of the state to designate an emergency manager. And this is just preliminary, we're certainly not deciding anything tonight because it's a work meeting, but I just wanted you guys to see this code section that talks about the emergency manager and that we designate one what their duties are. The second copy I have for you is that once we designate a manager, they have an interim successor plan that they want everyone to have in place. And the third thing I have here for you guys to take home and look at is the step down emergency management performance grant. And there are grants available to help even pay the salary of this emergency manager. And the fourth paper I have is just an example of Salt Lake City this is their ordinance, they're part of their code, their town city code that lays out their Office of Disaster and Emergency Services. Just to give us an example, if we were to do this, what might be the format we would follow. And so when Leroy and I met with Jason Whipple, who is the director of Washington County Emergency Management Services. And let me find my notes of our meeting of what we talked about. And he explained that if a person designates an emergency manager, that this emergency manager would serve as a point of contact for all the emergency management people in the county and in the state, that they have to develop an evacuation plan should there be a flood, a fire, something, that they would develop an evacuation plan. And then they also would be responsible for determining what aid we had available and making it available. Then he explained that some towns, when they have these emergency managers, they'll have like a trailer that's got in it all the stuff that you would need to help people in the event of an emergency. So you just attach to a truck and pull to whatever location. And that's what they would might be available. And the person would be, whoever we designate as the emergency manager would attend training sessions, and then we would pursue this grant application that the page I have there that explains about the grants. So this is just for you guys to look at, and we will discuss later. We're certainly, like I said, this is just very preliminary, so that we can discuss it as meetings continue. Okay? Any questions on that before we move on to the next? Because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about other than to provide you guys a preliminary information, and then you guys can think about it. For next meeting, maybe we'll put it on the work agenda for next work meeting. You were at the meeting with this emergency director. What did you think? Leroy.
Yeah, I know who you're talking
No, I
to.
decided to say it to the recording who I was talking to.
Okay. I kind of think it's a good idea. I don't know if we're big enough to have a salaried person. I know we don't have the budget for it. Can everyone hear me where I had it? Okay. I don't think, I know now we don't have the budget for it. It would be beneficial to the town. He was talking about emergencies like floods and things like that. We have had floods here in the past, but it only happens every 5 to 6 years. So I can't see why we would have to have a full-time person. That's kind of my opinion.
And I agree with that, and this reminds me, as you mentioned, these things that happen every once in a while. Just today, as I was listening to the radio, they had someone on who was talking about an emergency manager that they had in a town in Arizona. And I don't remember if it was Tucson or Phoenix or what the town was, but they were explaining that they were setting up these emergency cooling centers around so that in case there was a problem this summer during the drought, if they had an electric grid failure, they would have these emergency cooling centers set up for people. And so just the idea of climate change was why they came up with this idea of these cooling centers. And I thought, well, my air conditioner went out last summer and I was pretty miserable for a couple of weeks until it got fixed. And the only way I could stay cool was to dump myself in a swimming pool 3 or 4 times a day. Otherwise, it was just absolute misery. I can't imagine if all of the electricity went out.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
This gentleman from the county talked about he needed someone here to coordinate things. And I think that's important. Whether it's a salaried person or a member of the council that's designated to do that. And so if there is a problem here, they're equipped to come here and help us. And I think that's important to have someone delegated. And it could be a council member. It could be someone from the public that would volunteer.
One of the things he did say too was that if we had an emergency manager, that they want to see ideally 5 people, something like 4 or 5 people in the community who would essentially form the emergency committee. And ideally, the people that would be on this committee would have a background in, for example, Dan Snyder being the EMT, somebody who is a paramedic and someone who knows various things that would apply to emergencies. And so hopefully, I said, well, we have Dan Snyder, we've got him available, well, if he was available.
Yeah,
But,
we actually have 2 people that's EMTs. Jesse Stout, and he works for the fire department as well.
So
Yeah.
we've got 2, in addition to
Yeah.
whoever we do the emergency manager. So we have a good start, should we go that way. All right, so the second thing, so we can move on, that was just to introduce the topic, so we need to be thinking about it for the future. And the second thing I have on the work meeting is the assistant to the mayor. And all I wanted to explain here is why I was kind of advertised for this job, opening, create this job position. And many of you that that were here 4 years ago know that I developed rheumatoid arthritis. It was 4 years ago, almost to this very day. I'm trying to remember exactly when it started, and it was the very end of January, it's right around now. And it hit like a ton of bricks. It was absolutely debilitating. I had no idea what was wrong, and I could barely get out of bed. I had to have help moving at all. My hands swelled up, and they were like baseball gloves. I couldn't do anything. And when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, I thought I had no idea what rheumatoid arthritis was. I thought it was like osteoarthritis, and I discovered there are two very different things. But stress makes it worse. And so once I found the medicine, it took a year and a half to find the medicine that, it took about a year and a half to find the medicine that actually worked. And now you think, well, who has rheumatoid arthritis? She doesn't have it, but it's because of the medicine. And I have always been very careful to not let myself get stressed out if I can. And I have not had a relapse or a flare-up, they actually call it, and I haven't had a flare-up at all. And so what I want with this executive assistant to the mayor is someone who can do some of this stuff. I would like this person to do some things for me that would help relieve some of the stress so that I do not have a flare-up of the rheumatoid arthritis. And this is a part-time job, and that is why this position was created. And I just wanted to clarify that in case anyone has concerns about why I had that job created. And that's what that was about. The third thing on the work meeting is I did not realize that the rest of you had not heard about this gravel race. That I was asked if they could, this guy, David Kelsey, asked if we could put on this gravel, positive gravel race, a mixed surface bike race to be on November 12th this year. And they want to go up Co-op Terrace Road. They want to go up Smith's Mesa Road and then across Smith's Mesa and out on Co-op Terrace Road and come back down the road into Hershey. And he explains that they would like to use the Virgin BMX facility for 2 days, and they're approaching the other end, Zion Park if necessary. They're partnering with the Hurricane High School mountain biking team. And then there's 2 other additional charities they say that will receive donations from them if they get in the race. And they hope to have 350 bike races this year, and hopefully in the second year we've done with 750, and then, 700, and then maybe 800 after that. So he was asking if we had any objection to him having this race. So I sent this off to someone here in town who is very much into biking and asked him his thoughts. And so there is an email from him here just looking at it and saying what he thinks about his questions he asked about the event. He said that if 2 weeks in a row we would have a bike event, because there's Frog Hollow the week before that, which is out on, Frog Hollow is out on, what is that road? Sheep Ridge, yes. Frog Hollow is off on Sheep Ridge. This is a completely different location, but he was just pointing out that that would be 2 weekends in a row that we would be having a bike race here in town. And that, what else did he say? So there's another gravel race. What does he say this? There are already 2 gravel races in our area. I have not heard of either of these. One he calls the VR gravel race on the 3rd weekend in October in the Hurricane Cliffs area this year and Sheep Ridge Road. And then he says the True Grit 50 and 100, but that, he says it's in St. George and Santa Clara, that's in March, so I don't know that really has an effect on whether we would agree to allow this guy to have this bike race, but I want you guys to be aware of this gravel race.
Has the BMX, are they okay with that?
I have not talked to them. All I've done so far is bring this to your guys' attention.
Yeah. Because I know the BMX has real strict rules on using that because other types of bikes can really tear apart their ramps and stuff. So I don't remember her name either.
Because he says, will the BMX area support a pit area for an event this size without expanding into the desert and creating a new spot in the fragile desert? We have to contact the BMX, so the person that you're talking about and find out
Yeah.
what she thinks. She's the manager of
Mhm.
BMX track?
Yes.
Tina Dye. D-Y-E or D-I-D-Y-E?
Yeah.
And you have a number? You don't have to tell me right now, I can get it from you later. It's not actually from you.
She's a new manager. Last year was the first year she managed it, and she did a superb job. And in fact, one of the people that always use her track went to the nationals, and I think he won first place in the nationals. And so it's really put this BMX track on the map as far as that type of event.
I think there's stuff just strict regulations to get qualified to be considered a BMX track. So.
Yeah, so I think there's room there if they don't use the BMX track, but you'd have to talk to her if she'd even want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll let her contact this guy and they can work out details and get back in touch.
So Mayor, I assume this will be on next month's agenda for approval?
If we hear back from them,
Okay.
or if we hear back from this David Kelsey and from Tina Dye, I'll have them get in touch with each other and talk about it, and if they get back to us in time to do it next month's agenda, then that's all.
And the other question that I have is I noticed that they said that they would provide insurance and an insurance certificate. So my question, I don't know if Keith or Crystal knows the answer, is do we have any insurance amount requirement that we normally put on these events? And I assume we're asked to be named an additional insured when they do, correct?
We do require them to list the town as additional insured. We do not have a fixed insurance requirement in our special events permit section. I do think we can identify some, I think the council's within discretion based on the type of event.
So that may be a question is because they said they can provide insurance. So I assume they've already got insurance and maybe we'll ask what amount they have. And that would be helpful.
You might have mentioned the live streaming people can't hear you, you're not live.
I'm sorry, what?
The live streaming people cannot hear you, you're not live.
Oh, okay. I figured my voice was so loud that that I didn't need a mic. Okay, Okay, for you live streaming people that are complaining you can't hear me, hopefully this is better. The last thing I have on the work meeting section is this topic of EPA inspections over in Rio de Sion. Are you aware of these?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. The only way I found out about it is the Rio de Sion Facebook page. And actually, Niles was the one reading it because I don't really do Facebook. And he signed on to the page and said, hey, look at this. And so apparently there was an inspector from the EPA who went around and looked at the development, the sites that are being built upon in Virgin, and they were claiming they were Lauren said that he did not get cited by them, but that they talked to his builder while he was building. They gave him a warning. But they were claiming that the mixing of the people, the mortar and stuff for the people that are doing like the walls and all this in the houses that are being built, that they are not, what's the word? I need to look it up on Facebook to see exactly the word that they said, but it has to do with the water and the drainage of the mixture that is being left over. And just watching a couple of the houses in the neighborhood as they were doing the stucco and just the mess it made. And that the guy said that he was checking all the houses and was going to potentially start fining for the builders and the homeowners not having the right. They weren't taking care of their waste that was left over. So this was news to me. I knew nothing until Niles showed me this thing on Facebook. And so I was going to go around and I was going to go over and talk to Lauren, but Daniel, you might drop by and talk to Lauren or Leroy and find out more about this EPA inspector and what this is about. So it's like, I had no idea federal agency was in the development.
Are you sure it was EPA or is it DEQ? Department of Environmental
I will
Quality?
ask him that.
That's a state agency, and a lot of your federal statutes are enforced by states through their equivalent of the EPA on a state level, which is the Utah's the DEQ.
I know that I've watched the house across the street, or just, would that be east of your house? The one that's still under construction?
Yeah.
They're right on the corner?
Right on the corner.
I've watched them when they did the stucco that fell on the ground, but then they cleaned up what was on the ground and threw it in the dumpster.
I
You know,
have to
so I don't
say-
know if that qualifies, if that's what they're doing.
talking about. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
know. The first I knew was
Yeah.
this report on Facebook, but I'll find out if it was the DEQ instead of EPA. Yes, that's the thing I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so I will find out from him which one it really was. And then assuming it really is EPA,
Outside of our jurisdiction.
Also, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, environmental matters, and that's all.
It's all federal.
Mhm.
I mean, we obviously have to comply, but, I mean, if our building inspector goes out there, and they're constructing, we are looking at compliance with building code, not environmental
Yeah.
statutes.
Well, I didn't want the town to potentially get in trouble for whatever this is. So I wanted to bring it.
It would likely be between the homeowner and their contractor.
I would think so, but I thought that given what you do and what Daniel does, that we should be aware of it and investigate a little further.
It does say EPA inspector.
Could be, you're right, could be DEQ, we'll find out. Okay, that is all I had on the work meeting, and we still have 5 minutes before the actual meeting starts. So I will,
You want to take a break?
we could take a break, but before we do, I was just going to explain this one thing. So I mentioned, if any of you looked at my proposed rules of procedure for running the meetings from now on, I got this little thing up here so that when people come up to talk, I've got this little clock-like thing that when people come up to talk, I just hit the button and it will keep track of 3 minutes, because you'd have 3 minutes to talk about whatever your comment is. And then instead of me having to sit here and watch 3 minutes or cut you off,
you can just see for yourself where you are in your 3 minutes. And when, if you talk up all the way up to the 3 minutes, it gives a little ding. It's very, very hard to hear, even when it's turned up full blast. So it's right there where the person who would be up here talking at the mic would be able to see how much time they have. So that's my little contribution for our meetings. All right, so we've got 5 minutes before we come back.
I didn't know you wanted to have something in your back.
I forgot to make arrangements.
You want me to do it?
Did you?
Sure.
I don't know. I didn't even notice.
I stepped away. Can't hear me, sorry. It's not on this agenda. It is. I need to, I'm sorry, I'm just turning. had fun watching it. Tracy just giggles at everything.
Everybody. Okay. Okay. George. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order, and Leroy has agreed to do the invocation and lead us in pledge.
Our dear Father in heaven, we bow our heads in gratitude for our health and for this opportunity we have to gather together as a community. We pray your spirit will be with us today, a spirit of accord and a desire to work together. We also pray that you'll bless our new mayor, that bless her with health and with strength, bless her body with the ability to withstand the pressures that come on this mayor. We hope and pray that she'll be successful. We pray that you might bless this community with oneness, that we might come together. We all have differences and different ideas, dear Father, but we pray that you might help us to come together and to compromise and to be one for the betterment of this beautiful town. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I'll do the pledge. Okay, everyone please stand. Follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I put a number of things on the consent agenda. Normally, we don't take each one and go one by one. We just approve all of them, but I'm going to take them one by one, and we can talk a little bit about them. Yes. Oh, yes, sorry, missed that part. Does anyone have, any of the five of us have a conflict of interest regarding anything on this agenda?
I don't.
Misty? No. That's no's all around. Okay, so now on to the consent agenda. Thank you, Jean. Discussion and the possible approval of the December 2021 checks and invoices. So let's see, have you guys had a chance to review the checks that were written? Let's see, what have I got here? This is just a balance sheet. Ah, here they are. Any questions about the checks that were written? Anybody? Or are you good with them? Shall we just approve the checks that were paid?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 checks and invoices.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion and possible approval of the minutes from the December 16th, 2021 Town Council meeting, and then the January 3rd, 2022 swearing in, and the January 12th, 2022 minutes of the training session that some people came to. I was not there for, I don't feel that I can have anything to do with approving the minutes of December 16th since I was not a part of the meeting, or nor was I there. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Misty?
I have to abstain from it as well.
I have a couple of corrections for you on the 16th. Page 5, lines 22, 24, and 26. Her spelling is, her name is Angelia, it's Angelea. That's all I have on.
Yes, yes,
I
Misty.
was like, Mayor. Mayor, I would like to propose that we separate those out into vote per month. That way we can vote on the ones we were attending.
Okay,
We attended.
all right.
You could probably put January and the 2 Januaries together. Or were you not there? That's right.
Get everything else that you read.
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the 16, 2021 draft minutes.
I'll second.
Madam Mayor, since I don't think,
I don't think, I was just about to ask Heath, we only 2 of us were at the December 16th, 2021 Town Council meeting. That's Jean and Leroy. And the 3 of us that were not there don't feel we can approve the minutes because we weren't there. So how do we approach this?
You can approve the minutes whether or not you're present or not.
Okay.
Obviously, you have personnel would be ideal.
Okay.
If you don't feel comfortable making a motion or anything like that, you can go on.
Okay,
uh,
all right.
Mayor, I was at the meeting, so I will go ahead and be the third vote. So
Okay,
Missy can abstain if she
Abstain.
needs to.
okay. All right, so it's been motioned and seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. The minutes of December 16th are approved. And now that leaves us the minutes of the 2022 minutes. So let me get there. All right, any changes to the minutes of January 3rd? By any of you? No changes? Okay,
I move that we approve January 3rd, 2022 minutes.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and now we're at the January 12th, 2022 minutes. And I was not there and Paul was not there, but Jean and Leroy and Misty were all there. So after reviewing the minutes, do you guys have any changes? Or do you just approve the minute, make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion we approve January 12th, 2022 draft minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, the next thing that was on the consent agenda are the calendar of meetings I went ahead and did calendar of meetings for both the planning commission and the town council. And they're the usual fourth Wednesday for town council and second Wednesday of each month for planning commission. So
Except in November and December.
except for November and December where they have been moved up a week on both, which seems to be our standard procedure because of the holidays. Any objections to the, yes?
Mayor, on that, we are required to set our meeting schedule by resolution.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
I have
so
not seen that in the
guess I
past.
would- Yeah, I would just suggest that if we make a motion, the motion is to approve a resolution containing the content of what you have there in the form of a resolution acceptable to town attorney. And I'll just quickly review it and sign it, and they'll have the approval. It needs to be a resolution.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution based on the contents of these two calendars, approving the calendar for 2022 planning commission and town council meeting schedules. To the approval of the attorney.
I will second that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. And now, let's see, I believe we are at the resolutions. Oh, Mayor Pro Tem. Leroy had told me that he did not want to be Mayor Pro Tem anymore.
But I changed my mind.
You changed your mind? You really will continue to be Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, my wife says that's a privilege of a wife, but I'm going to take the privilege anyway.
Well, okay then. Then if you're going to continue as Mayor Pro Tem, I did not have your name on the consent agenda because I figured we would just be talking about who would be willing to do it.
That's fine if someone else wants to
I
run,
move
that's
to
okay.
approve Leroy as mayor pro tem.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So now we have the last three things on the consent agenda, which were the appointments to the solid waste, mosquito abatement, and Hurricane Valley Fire District. So I have them on the agenda. Backward, I have Hurricane Valley Fire District as Resolution 01 on the agenda, and actually 01 is the solid waste. So I had initially put myself down to be the appointee for all three of these because my personal opinion is that since I don't know a whole lot about what goes on at the Mosquito Abatement Board or the Solid Waste District or the Hurricane Valley Fire District, that I can't appoint someone to go to these meetings if I myself don't even know what's going on at the meetings. So I was going to appoint myself to be the representative in the beginning with the expectation that as time went along and I felt better about what was going on at the meetings, that then I could feel good about appointing somebody else to do that job. However, I will discuss mosquito abatement and fire district in a minute. We'll get on with the solid waste district. So any objections by you guys for me being the representative for the solid waste district?
So I got a couple of things I think you need to know.
Okay,
I found out during this last week, I got a call from the commissioner and the county attorney. Victor Iverson and the attorney called me regarding these appointments.
Uh-huh.
The county does the appointment, who will nominate.
even for the water, even for the solid
Except-
waste.
Except the mosquito district. The mosquito district's a little different. The others require the county to appoint.
Oh, I know that for the fire district.
That's
I'm
what he
asking
told
about
me.
the solid
That's
waste.
just what Victor told me.
So the solid waste is the same way?
Right. And
Okay.
he asked us to, because as you know, on December 16th, we had voted to change that, which we cannot do according to their bylaws.
Yes.
But also, Victor said that they've had 3 requests this election to remove people who are on different boards, and the county's never put anything in place for a removal process. So he asked me, he said, if you guys can hold off on doing anything with these boards until we determine how we can remove somebody that's been appointed, because they're in for a 4-year term, you need to complete the term. I don't even know if we have anybody on the solid waste.
Well, I happened to look through the resolutions that were, I looked through them this morning in the office, and the last person I'd seen appointed for the solid waste was Kevin Stout. I did not see that he had been replaced with anyone else. I had no idea if his term is still going on or what. Okay, so we will check with, find out from Kevin. Okay.
But then it's a nomination for.
Yeah, right. So we will I will make a note here that we're going to go talk to Kevin and see if Kevin is still got any time left on the solid waste.
You know, you could still attend those meetings in the
Oh,
meantime.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Would you like a motion to move that resolution to the next meeting?
Why, sure, Paul.
And if I believe that's correct, it's Resolution 01 that we're talking about.
Yes.
So I move that Resolution 2022-01 be moved to our next regular meeting in February.
Any second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay.
Aye.
All right, so I've got a note here. We're going to check with Kevin on that. Now, on the next one, 02, is the Mosquito Abatement Board. And I also filled out this one, appointing myself to the Mosquito Abatement Board. And then I received an email from the Mosquito Abatement Board indicating that Jay Lee still has some time on his term, which is fine with me. However, the day of the canvass, after the canvass was over and we had certified the electoral results and everybody was leaving the room, and I was standing talking with Leroy and Crystal and Jean, Jay came up and gave me this little mosquito abatement 2022 calendar and said, here, and you're going to want to appoint somebody to mosquito abatement board. And I asked, well, who's currently serving on the mosquito abatement board? And he said, I am, and you'll want to appoint someone. So I took him at his word, and I prepared this form to appoint myself. But if Jay still got time on his term and wants to continue to serve the term, I have no objection whatsoever to that. And I'm
Jay's here.
I know he is.
Yeah.
I know, I saw you there. I saw you come in. So I'm just letting you know that if he wants to continue, I am more than happy to cross my name off of this and put Jay Lee's name. So what do you want to do, Jay? Would you like to continue?
Yeah, Sean reminded me that I have 2 more years on that.
Okay.
Your call, so
Okay,
anyway, I'll do that.
okay, then I don't need to do anything then. Okay. All right, so I will take a motion then for this resolution to just be, well, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Do we even need to motion that?
I don't know. I guess not. We don't need to do anything. I will just cross it off. Okay. All right. And now we get to the Fire District Board. And the Fire District Board, I know what we said earlier that happened in December. And I have the resolution from 2018 where this is from the county. Yep, the county commissioners. The resolution from 2018 where they said any person who was nominated to serve on the Fire District Board has to be an elected official, either current or past. And so, as we said, that while Cameron would do a good job, he wasn't an elected official. And I am aware of what you were saying that has happened with some other towns have tried to do the same thing and appoint people that were not elected officials, and the county commissioners are saying, wait, that's our job, not yours. All you can do is nominate. But I also have the resolution from the county commissioner in January of 2027, where they appointed Bruce Dinsley as the appointee, the representative from Virgin, and his term does not expire for another 2 years. So I do not intend to do anything with that resolution either, because he still has 2 years on his term. And just like we had a registry in the office or a notebook somewhere, Crystal, where we keep track of everyone who's on planning commission, I think we need to set up something like that for all these boards so that we don't have this happen again where we don't know what the terms are for everybody who's been appointed to all these boards. So that'd be something for you to follow up on if you would, Crystal. Okay? Yes, ma'am? Let's see. So that covers everything on the consent agenda. And now we can move on to item number 5. Resolution 2204, rules for town council meeting procedure. So the last time that I am aware of that the town had adopted rules of order and procedure for the town council meetings was 2016 when Bruce was the mayor. And I pulled out I remember I was on town council at the time and I argued for certain things to be changed in the way the town council meetings were run. And Bruce was the mayor and he said, no, I want it to run this way. And as the mayor, it was his right to have the meetings run the way he wanted. And so now I have the opportunity to make the changes that I wanted to make 6 years ago. So what the main change that I wanted, that I've taken the resolution that we had from 2016, and all I've done is I have added some things to it and removed a few things. Otherwise, it's essentially the exact same resolution that Bruce did. And what I added was that I would like at the bottom of page 1, you will see agendas will be posted 1 week before town council meetings instead of 24 hours. I've added that.
Now, where are you?
At the bottom of page 1, resolution 2204, the very last line. I want the agendas to be posted a week ahead of time instead of 24 hours. That's 24 hours is not enough time for people to review everything and see if they have comments they would like to make. The next change I made is the bottom of page 2. And I have it highlighted and underlined, bolded and underlined, that I'm going to allow public comment after each agenda item has been discussed by the town council, but we're doing this on a trial basis. If I think that this gets abused by the public or that by allowing this public comment, the meetings get extended unreasonably long, then we will reconsider this, that we may have to remove the privilege of the public comment the way we're doing on this trial basis. So this is an experiment for everybody that we will give this a try and see if it works. Then at the top of page 3, under 3.3, I talk about electronic devices. And what I've seen in the past, even when I was on town council 6 years ago, I could sit here at the table and I'd look out and I could see people pulling out their phone and texting something. And then I'd turn and I would look at the town council table and somebody would pull out their phone and they'd just gotten a text message from somebody in the audience. And I find that that is inappropriate and should not be allowed. So I would like for electronic devices to not be at the table, other than these things that are doing these recordings. But I thought to myself, when I was thinking about this, that part of the problem, and probably why people were picking up their phones and texting people at the town council meeting, is because they weren't allowed to make comments after the items. So therefore, it may very well be that by allowing public comment after each item, that nobody would be picking up their phone to text people at the town council table anyway. But that again, I think I want to give that as a test run. And if we find that we really need to allow electronic devices, then we'll go back and change this. So this whole thing is an experiment.
Some of us use our electronic devices for information about what we're going to do. And you look at 2 or 3 of the council members all have their computers up.
Yes, I am aware.
And I use my phone for that.
Well,
So-
I'm not saying you have to put it away this meeting. I'm
But
just
I
saying
mean,
this
from
is
now
for
on,
future.
what are they going to do?
And I propose that we leave the laptops because it does, in fact, I mean, I printed a lot out this time, but it's because I was studying it a lot differently than I usually do. But, my computer was not charged. Anyway, I think these need to be here because typically I don't print out this paperwork. I like to have it here. And also, sometimes we're having a volley of discussion and someone's like, what about that? Let's look it up.
Oh, I
You can
understand.
find it. They are actually very useful. I understand the frustration with the cell phones. However, I would like to be able to use them at least set it to where if there was an emergency for some whatever reason, one of us could be contacted.
I have a question. I'm kind of trying to follow what you're doing. Are you wanting to accept public comment before we have our discussion, or we can have
No.
our discussion and public comment?
Correct.
Is that what you want to do?
Yeah.
Well, I have several things on this.
Okay.
I-
On this thing about electronic devices?
Not the whole thing.
Oh,
Let you finish.
okay.
Go into detail on anything else you changed.
So are you finished with what you were saying, Misty? Okay.
And would you like us to comment by section, or do you want us to wait till you are finished with your comments and then we can begin ours? I just want to make sure.
Let me finish. Let's see if I had anything else particularly I wanted to point out, because like I said, this is essentially following what's been in place for 6 years. All I've done is make the change about allowing public comment, this thing about electronic devices, and then that the agenda gets posted early. So far, that's the only changes I've made. Otherwise, this thing is exactly the same as what it's been for 6 years. Okay. The one thing I did do, and I've been reconsidering if I did the right thing with these minutes, with this, these rules. The previous rules were written in a way where every single item was numbered. And I removed the numbering, a large amount of the numbering, and went with bullet points. And I might need to redo this resolution and go back to a numbering system in case anybody wants to point to an exact item. It's easier if there's a number. So I may have to go back and redo this with numbers. But the rest of this is pretty much the same as what the previous resolution was. So why don't you guys go ahead and tell me what it is that you have as comments to this, given that there's not a huge amount of changes from what's been our rules for 6 years. So Jean or Misty, which one of you? Okay,
I'd like to I'd like to sit down and look at the two things together.
okay.
I couldn't find, of course, I didn't know which one you were referencing. I noticed you were referenced, it was pulled from the ordinance in the past, or resolution in the past. I guess something else I didn't see.
Okay.
I do have some concerns with, and I know that people can take this the wrong way, but demanding that something is on an agenda at a specific time that's so far in advance hamstrings us as a council when something comes up. I
Oh.
noticed that you put exceptions allowable in the case of emergency.
Uh-huh.
Here's the problem. Who determines what's an emergency? If I think something's important and you don't, and you're the person who makes the deciding, then that can be a problem.
Okay,
I think that I have no problem doing my very best to set something. We talked about this when we met before, you guys were sworn about wanting to do more transfers. I have no problem
Correct.
with that, but I don't like statements that say agenda will be posted 1 week before. If there's something that comes up that has to be amended, we need to have that leeway. And vice versa.
Oh, so you're thinking that I'm not allowing for an amended agenda to be done?
I'm just saying, we need to have some leeway that if we can't get stuff in on time, or something comes up after that 10 day, we do need to get on the agenda, there needs to be a way that we can do it without it being just a single person making the decision.
Oh, there's already
So
the
I'm saying
court,
we should say, these things should be submitted by this time, and they may be put on next meeting's agenda at the clerk's discretion, or according to state guidelines, if we can't get it on.
okay,
Does that
just,
make sense?
yes, but I'm just pointing out that the second bullet point under meeting agenda required says that it's not just one person who puts things on.
Right, I agree with that. It
Okay.
doesn't say down below, exceptions allowed only in case of emergency, who determines what emergency.
Okay, so what else?
I think agendas should be posted 1 week before town council meetings, not rude. You're hamstringing yourself on both sides. I'm just saying it needs to be left open. And then if we're abusing it, bring us to the table and say, look, this is what it says, it should be done multiple months now, Gene, you talking to me, Mayor Gene, talking to Gene.
yeah, right.
You've not done this, this is what we agree should be done. Because I have no problems agreeing to that, I just think that when we start saying, you will, you must, it puts us in a bad position on both sides. The next thing that I have a concern is on I think that, we need to, and this is just a small thing, but words matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that any place where it says town recorder should say town clerk / recorder, this town is more individual. And that's in multiple points throughout. On item 2, initially I had big problems with this only because it's saying presiding officer of the town council is the mayor. The mayor's not here, that doesn't, it doesn't say that the mayor pro tem who's next. I think it needs to have the leaders, if presiding officers in this order 1, 2, 3. If you two are both on it, then we still have a quorum for 1 meeting, that needs to be agreed. I've always struggled, and I've said this in multiple meetings, I've always struggled when we have things in resolution that are already kind of stated in state law, and a lot of these things are kind of already there. So the problem is if the state changes the law, then we're in violation of it. I think that's a good change. On section 3, I do have a problem with electronic devices. I think we all swore no, and it's up to us to look at that oath, not to be babysat on electronic devices at this stage. I use mine. I don't know, I've never received a text from anybody telling me anything from the audits, but I use mine very consistently in checking state code and other things already. I can use a computer, I'm kind of like this type of family, when something comes up, I want to go to that text and check it. In case of emergency, especially now. Item number 3.4, 3.4, VI needs to be adjusted to say adjournment is by motion and vote.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. Tell me again where you were?
Item 3.4.VI
Yes,
needs to be by motion and vote.
where?
Adjournment by presiding officer should say adjournment by motion and vote. So you don't close the meeting with the council. That's probably the way it's.
I was going to say, a lot of this, like I said, is just copied straight from the previous one.
As far as the parliamentary stuff, I think if we're going to have written parliamentary procedures, we should reference something that's been published, tried, and true.
Oh,
I'm not saying Robert's rules.
yeah, I
I'm saying
hate Robert's Rules of Order and I
there's a lot
won't
of
use it.
options out there. It would be nice to have the entire published word of whatever parliamentary procedure we're going to follow, where we can all reference that instead of, if this covers some stuff in parliamentary, but not enough, in my opinion, to where if things come up, it doesn't cover every base.
No, it doesn't. And there was stuff I took out because I cannot stand Robert's Rules of Order and the way it's hard to follow. It's just so boring and so minute in the detail, and I cannot stand it.
So.
So
my
if we
suggestion
find
would
some
be, if you
other-
said, I don't know, I mean, this is your resolution. My suggestion is that if we're going to do this, there needs to be something in it that says, in the absence of a decision or something that's not included on this, we refer back to this published board as a. This is too important in my mind, just the simple stuff. Does that make sense? I
It
just think we
does.
need to have a published, it doesn't need to be an exhaustive Robert's Rules of Order, but something we probably tried and true in other procedure in other places that we can use as our backup for when something like this doesn't come.
Okay, well, we will discuss it.
That's,
Okay.
that's pretty much it.
Okay, Misty, what were yours?
You hit a lot of my points. So not to like double up on them, but I'll just kind of brush.
Well, you
through
can
the
just
ones
go ahead and say, I agree
Yeah,
on
there-
here or I agree on
I'll skip
there.
the one, I'll just be like, I agree with Jean, just,
Yeah, right.
I'll go to the ones that are my main point. And I think for, the sake of a extremely long document, and having seen the state statutes, because you've worked in the office, I know that some of these public hearing, the definition of public hearing, the rules of when they're posted and we just need to reference the state statute. It would
Okay.
save us a lot of grief. And we can always add to it to make it more stringent than the state. But I think that would save us a lot of paperwork and confusing grief because it's very spelled out in the state statutes, how it needs to be. And like with you putting it needs to be a week before.
Yeah.
That's wonderful and it should be that way, but that the state does one day, so we can add to it and add our own things. So that I second, I think we should at least try to clear it up a little bit, so it's not such a long document when we're referencing the state on those points. So
Okay.
it's basically four, all the way from 3.4 to, and 4 we can adopt our own, for itself, we can adopt, like, I second, Jean needs to have which parliamentary rules we're gonna follow, so we can have a guidebook for what we're doing.
Okay,
And
now
4.1
the state does not require us to choose
Right.
a parliamentary book, guide to follow. We don't have to do that.
And that's our call, and if we want, that's what I'm saying, is some of this stuff that if we feel like we can do just with the state statute and add our own to it, I think we should clean this up just a little bit. I know I like where you were going with adding things to it and putting your own, the comments and the way you want those down and the electronic devices. I think we could take out a lot of stuff too.
You have no idea how much time I spent trying to get rid of the horrible language in the previous resolution that was so much Robert's Rules of Order. I struggled to come up with something that was much easier to read and in plain English. And still, here we are.
You did a fantastic job.
Oh.
It points at that, but there's so many things that we could take out, and it references boards and we're commissions or any councils
Okay,
and things like that, where if we just use reference to state, I feel like our language would be it would match our offices and it would match the meetings we're having. So that's what I would like to do with it. I started writing the references down, but I think that would take a lot of time in this meeting to set those out where we could just email them back and forth. I think that you know my stance on electronics equipment. I just feel like we use these computers to reference so many things. And I'm happy to put my phone on not silent, so you guys can hear it when it goes off and see that it's just my family.
okay.
But I feel like that shouldn't be there. Also, I think that, let's see, I think that I am pretty much done. Like all these were just little things I had noted that were state reference. So I'd like to clean that up, and if, I know you spent a ton of time, if you want me to take a crack at it and then send you the,
That would be
References?
fine.
I would be happy to do that.
That would be fine because then you're going to have to read this thing. I spent so much time reading
I looked
and
at
it
that,
was
and then I'm like,
horrible.
let's just focus on the work that you have done, which is a lot, and so I just thought if you could add to it this way, it might, clean it up a little bit and make our own.
Okay, so, yes,
I don't know, it's been probably a year ago, I was looking at, parliamentary procedure books, because I'm with you. In high school, parliamentary procedure, and that Robert's Rules of Order, it is in depth. But they made quick versions.
Yeah,
they
I've
made
seen it.
things that cover the basics, but it gives you something to reference back to where if somebody says, you know, this isn't on here, I'm going to manage, and say, yes, but this is our overarching document on parliamentary procedure, then you agree it's not covered.
okay,
That's
so,
all I'm saying.
so can we agree? Can we agree at this point, though, that while we work on this, that my suggestion that I'm going to allow the public to have public comment after each item, you guys have any problem with that? Okay, all right.
And
That's the main thing.
Mayor, my comment with respect to that is I don't think you're going to see a problem with it. Part of our job is to listen to public comment. Sometimes it may be extend the meeting an hour, sometimes extends the meeting 2 hours. That's our job. We're here to do that. I've been in meetings with towns of 40,000, 100,000 people that do the same thing you're doing, and it extends the meetings, but most of the time, people respect it, they move on, and I don't think we're going to have a problem where it's going to get out of hand. I just don't see that happening.
Okay,
And I applaud you for doing that. I really do. I think that's important.
okay, so, yes, Leroy.
I just want to thank you for trying to do this. There's a lot of things in here that if you get all of us to give you some suggestions, you know, then you can rewrite it. I would like to table it with the understanding that you can have the comments from the public as you've outlined in here.
All right.
And I do have one other comment, a couple comments, because I listened to Gene. Gene, that's all right. I agree. In the absence of what our rules of procedures say, then we can reference Robert Rules of Order. I think that's a good change. As far as putting the decision, maybe the way to get around the language, unless it just, and I'm talking about the agenda item within a certain time frame, unless a decision is required to be made prior to the next regular meeting. You can create some language similar to that to make the exception. So you meet the 10 days unless a decision needs to be done at this particular meeting, and it can't be delayed to the next meeting. So that gives the person making the decision some guidelines. And then, Mayor, I really like the fact that you moved the open forum to the beginning of the meeting. My suggestion would be to eliminate the language about issues not on the agenda. And my logic is that some people would like to show up at the meeting, make their comment on an agenda item and leave. The
Okay.
only thing I would recommend is that they don't get 2 bites of the apple. If they make their comment at the beginning,
They don't
Then
get to come up later.
they don't get to come up later to do that unless everybody else gets a second bite of the apple.
Okay.
So those would be my suggestions.
Okay. So before we make a motion, this is the first item on the agenda that is going to allow public comment. So if there's anyone in the room that has something you would like to say regarding what we've talked about with regard to meeting procedures, if you have anything you'd like to say, you're welcome to come up and make your comment. And I have my little timer here to keep track of the 3 minutes. No one? No one has it? Okay, Sean.
Sean Emmett. Do you want the whole address and everything too?
Nah.
Okay,
Just, yeah, I
I'll
know where you live.
Missed that part. That's on there. Yeah, real quickly, I appreciate what you've done because I've done the same thing by going through old stuff and making it better. A couple of suggestions, things that I hadn't heard from the council yet. There was nothing that addressed the timing for receiving emails before a meeting from the public. Since you're allowing so much comment at the meeting, people should be at the meetings. But we had a lot of issues in planning and zoning with emails being sent 5 minutes before, and then they were expected to be read in the meeting. It made it very difficult to manage the meeting with that. So maybe address that. Also, us just being a small town, having a small staff, and being able to get those on the agenda 10 days before with public hearings, that was always a challenge, and a lot of my things were never put on. And so then I'd have to wait till the next month, and then it would get missed again, and I'd wait the next month. So following state statute with 24 hours in advance is preferred. Yes, try to put the agenda up and post it, but allowing for amendments is very important, and making that clear that it does that. Also, just a couple of other points. In your 3.4 section, all the VIs are, they're not numbered correctly. Fixing that.
Where?
The VI and VI. When the one Gene was looking for, there's two of us.
Oh, I see.
Things like that. So
Yeah.
if you'd like to number it, that would be helpful. And also, I like Misty's comments about simplifying it by putting state code, because it really would simplify it. Also, there's a couple of presidents of the board in there that need to be adjusted.
Where? What are you talking about?
In 4.2, there's president of the board. So also, if your concern is that they don't, the council members don't communicate with the public, just put that specifically in there, that they can use their phones, but just not to communicate with the public. If that's your concern, I'd suggest that. And then in the 3.1, your public meeting and the comments, the mayor's in charge of that anyways.
Yes,
So
I know, but still,
so,
I'm
yeah.
trying to give people,
I agree. Thank you.
so, okay. Thank you.
Darlene Pope, and I just want to, from the perspective of a citizen who likes to be informed and active in their town, I really appreciate the 7-day notice because it allows me, with other commitments to my time, to have that space to prepare and to ask relevant, thoughtful questions in a respectful manner, rather than having it felt like it's a drop, just a surprise at the last minute, and then you have to scramble and something like that. So I understand it is a little harder for, town council and planning commission to get those documents up there, but it is invaluable in an informed democracy to do so, and I really appreciate that. I also appreciate the comments at the time. So thank you for that.
Kent Peterson. I just wanted to
Kent,
thank you.
Take your mask off. so we can-
your mask, please. Thank you.
Just wanted Kent
Mayor,
Peterson.
I would say let him keep his mask on if he wants, because with the spread of the COVID virus in the place, it should be each individual's choice. I just had a neighbor taken to the hospital today as a result of COVID. So I think we should be aware and let the person make their own personal decision with that. We can ask them to repeat it and speak up if we need.
I am very hard of hearing, and if he has the mask on, I won't be able to hear him. That's the only reason I ask him.
Appreciate your comment. I understand your comment.
Okay.
And I don't have to ask you about the ambulance now, I know, so thank you. I just wanted to compliment you on the idea of a public comment in advance of an item. I always felt as I came to meetings on an issue that I felt involved in or important to me, that I felt I had to sit until everything was already done and then come and either cheer you on or complain. I didn't have any say. It was already done. And so I appreciate the idea and the concept if it can be worked into your meetings. I don't like the idea that you have to be here until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to get all that done. But I think you can be organized enough to do that. So thank you.
Okay. Okay, so sorry.
I just wanted one
Okay,
clarification.
say your name for the record.
Charlene Hall, could you move that down so I could read it at the very top of page 1 where it says, okay, I'll just ask it plain out. Are we going to do the Pledge of Allegiance
We did it.
We did it.
next
Did it not
time?
say-
I couldn't remember.
Let me see.
I remember
Let
it
me see
said
what it says.
opening ceremony. It included, and it did not say Pledge of Allegiance. I remember that. But I didn't know what it meant.
It does say et cetera in there, Shirley.
He said what? Et cetera.
So she's giving
That's,
like
that was my
it's part of the opening ceremony.
I think it's important to have the Pledge of Allegiance in my very much opinion.
Yeah, in response, it does say welcome, comma, prayer, comma, et cetera, and the et cetera meant Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. And I just realized that what I wrote after that very section, opening ceremony, it's on page 3, that I said, see resolution 2004-3-24. And that was the resolution I gave you all a copy of that had to do with the opening ceremonies. I don't know, I put that on there and I included it in the agenda items, the attachments for the agenda, just in case we thought we needed to discuss it. Do you guys want to have any discussion on this item about this resolution, the opening comments, and that this resolution that was passed in 2004 that addressed how to have the opening ceremonies at town meetings? Do you have that up there, Crystal?
Yes.
If you go down to, in fact, if you go down on page 1 to Roman numeral 1, you'll see opening ceremonies will typically include a Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. So do you guys feel any need to talk about it or not? If not, we can move on.
Are we done with 22-04?
Oh, no, you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot to get the motion.
Yeah.
I was thinking of these as companion companion items on the agenda.
Point of clarification for me.
Mhm.
Would you like me to take a crack at this?
Yes, I'll take a
So
motion to
after
table
motion,
it.
then we
Yeah,
go in then-
yeah.
Okay, so I'll motion that we table resolution 2022-04 for clarification and revision to be submitted for next meeting.
Okay. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, me too. Okay, so on to this next resolution that had to do with opening comments. I had this on the agenda. We do not have to talk about it. If you guys want to just move on to the next item, we don't have to talk about this. But since we had discussed this when we had a meeting in December, I didn't know if you guys want to talk about it. You're fine with it? Okay. And just for the public, in case you haven't read it, this is a resolution that was enacted in 2004. And it was talking about how the opening of the meeting can include prayer from many different religions, or you can let any individual who desires to say something and the opening, have a remark that you would like to make, or a prayer from some other religion, or whatever, that the opening portion of the meeting is flexible. And that's what this is about. And there were some Supreme Court cases, not US Supreme Court cases. This was addressing some Utah Supreme Court cases that had to do with prayer, opening prayer at meetings. And that's what this is addressing. And so we're not going to talk about it because everybody's ready to move on. So there we go.
But I would tell you, there's been some clarifying case law since 2004 on that. We need to offer the opportunity for other people to make remarks. If you want to have a set agenda item for like invocation or however you want, whatever you want to call it, you need to then offer to the public present that would like to make any other opening remarks or invocation.
In addition to.
That's kind of a very simple summary of what the status of the law is in Utah.
Okay.
Did you look at that ordinance that you had, the county states?
And it does a lot of that. It's a little more streamlined than what it was when the case came down in 2002 that gave rise to this ordinance.
So Keith, does that offer have to come at the same meeting or at a different meeting? Or are they allowed just to come in at a different meeting and do a invocation?
The offer has to be open if anyone wants to make a comment or statement of belief.
For that evening, at that time? Okay.
So does it need to be then like on the agenda that if we have, opening ceremony, opening remarks, that it's got part A and part B?
Normally what you'll see if you'll go to some of the other municipalities, two of them that I represent, they have standing items on their agenda. Opening, invocation, statement of belief. And the mayor will call, they've called on someone to give an opening invocation, and the mayor says, would anybody else like to make a statement of belief? It's usually the easiest way to accomplish comply with the law.
So Misty, as you are going back through this, do you want to take a crack at it? When you get to the section that lays out how the agenda is going to be, you've got to put that in there. All right. You've been warned. Okay. Yes.
I'd like to motion
Hmm?
to move items 10 and 16 before we start talking about this, because there's still some leftover stuff that needs to be resolved before we move into these.
Okay, but these are just me filling the 2 seats that were for mine to fill.
There's a third seat,
Angelia.
which was addressed in this meeting, and I don't feel like we can do anything with that until such a time as we address those things in this meeting, as well as we got to work together. So I'm just making a motion, to move those 2 items before this, so that we can discuss them, get it ironed out, get it cleaned out, and then move on.
Second, Madam Mayor, we have to finish the motion and we can have a discussion right after that. That's.
Okay.
that's the procedure.
All right, so,
So that's why I seconded and we're.
I understand what you're doing. I did read Robert's
I know,
Rules of
I was
Order
just-
as much as I hate it.
I want you to think I was just talking over the top of you. I wanted you to understand why I was seconding.
So for clarification, what 2 items?
Number 10, followed by number 16. So I think we will take them down.
Any comment, Paul?
I don't know if I agree that they need to be taken care of before you dispose of what your agenda item is. I think they can be addressed afterwards also, so I don't see the necessary to do that, but we'll see what the vote comes out as.
So your only objection is because I have item C on item number 7.
My objection is I'd like to clear the air on December's meeting and then move forward. Not that it's gonna stop your points, but you would also include going to see who's placed in that meeting. And so either it's legitimate or not. If we vote no on that, we're legitimizing the fact that the December meeting wasn't valid. If we vote yes on that, we're legitimizing the fact that the December meeting wasn't valid. I don't want to table these items to address that first. Let's just get that taken care of and then we can move on to. That's what I'm making on the motion.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be divisive, I just like to clear the air on that stuff. Get it done. One way or the other.
Okay, so there's been a motion, there's been a second. I'm with Paul that I think we should be able to go ahead with the agenda the way I have it, but let's go ahead and vote because that's, yes.
Can I get a clarification from asking you if moving that is an issue?
I'm sorry, what?
Can I ask our attorney if moving that either way is going to talk about?
I don't see that it's a problem either way. That's,
As long as the location and it's not setting a precedent.
yeah, I think Jean explained it properly. It could, I don't know how you can properly take a vote on 7 until you get to that one matter. So either you table 7, go on, and then come back
Because of item C?
because of the third. Yeah,
Okay,
C.
okay.
So, actually, I think it's a decent idea. But either way, I mean, we can not move the agenda and table it and come back. It's just,
And it's not negating Angelia at all, it's
no,
just
so.
putting in order, putting in order. is all.
Okay.
Okay.
So I said that we had a motion, we had a second. It's time to vote. So, Misty?
Aye.
Leroy?
Aye.
I say no.
No,
Okay. So the motion carries. So we now will address item 10. My paper's ready here. Okay, so now we have review and, so we're going to be moving on to item 10, review and discussion of the letter of Heath Snow dated January 5th, 22, and the appropriate action regarding the 2 seats of Planning Commission. That's what's on here. Okay, so we can discuss it. We can discuss this and then accept public comment. When you were asking earlier, when I had accept public comment, you were wondering about discussion first. I always intended discussion first before, so I guess I'll change that on future agendas to say town council discussion, then accept public comment. Okay,
So we have a public comment first?
we're gonna do our discussion first. All right, so.
I'm not gonna let her any
Yes.
questions.
Well, I will say, I do not have a question. Mine is an observation for the discussion. And my observation is that I take your letter of January 5th, since it is addressed to me and not the town, that where it says, to remedy, on the last page, to remedy this deficiency, I would suggest that you have Crystal place these appointments back on the business meeting agenda. And as I said, to basically reaffirm the appointment of those 3 people from December. And as I said, when I met with you, that I don't intend to do that. And we had that discussion, you and I, that I consider that because of the lack of the written resolution, that the appointments were invalid and that the seats are vacant. And that is my approach.
I indicated there is a deficiency.
Yes.
I'm
And
not saying
so,
that there wasn't, so-
no, I know, I am in agreement with your letter.
I provided a simple suggestion,
Mhm.
suggested way to resolve.
Right. And so if I do not want to take that suggestion and I want to proceed with the seats being vacant, do I have that right?
Yeah, you have that right.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Although I think the council just voted to have agenda item number 16 heard before agenda item 7.
Okay, well, I think we're still talking on number 10. We haven't gotten to 16 yet. I
Is
just,
that the context of this letter about?
yes. I just don't know if anyone has anyone of the rest, I don't know that the rest of the town council has anything they want to say about the letter.
I do have a question, Heath, in light of the conversation between the mayor and you, the fact that she has failed to appoint anybody, so she hasn't done that yet for those seats, that the next resolution can't be heard because it's not her appointment, correct? For the item number 16? Since the mayor has not appointed any individuals, that resolution can't proceed.
16 cannot proceed
Yes.
Correct.
because she didn't designate them.
She didn't,
Correct.
she has not appointed anybody to that board, to that seats.
That this was asked, this was put on the agenda at the request of the other 3 town council members. And if I have not nominated these people to be reaffirmed, it cannot be on the agenda to be voted on.
How do you get the advice and consent of the council?
I will nominate the people, I haven't even nominated anyone to those 2 seats. I still have 2 people to nominate. And I have not nominated them yet because we needed this to be addressed, whether or not those seats are vacant, and that I can then nominate who I want, and I have not nominated the people in item 16 to be reaffirmed, so therefore, this cannot be addressed because I did not nominate them.
I guess I'm failing to see what the difference is between the two. You have 2 seats that this current mayor is allotted, but we have a deficiency from a previous council that needs to be addressed. Because the current agenda has included somebody that was in that December meeting that has already been approved, that a deficiency was a oral, not written resolution. If we don't address that first, how can we vote on somebody being placed on the Senate?
So we're not talking about A and B of item number 7, we're talking about C.
Correct.
Correct.
A
I,
and B stand anyway, we come back, that is not speaking to these seats that were voted on in December.
I am nominating the person in item C. I am nominating A and B and C. And since the 3 people that were,
Well, I guess what I would do is I would recommend that we probably take those nominations separately.
yes,
Nominations and then the vote to consent and approve the nomination.
well, that's what,
Separately.
and if you look at item 7 on the agenda, I have, oh, I see, you're saying I should have had item 7, item 8, item 9. Okay,
Right.
I thought by listing them separately, I was going to approach them separately. I wasn't gonna, you see what I'm saying? I was gonna have each one voted on separately, not one big group.
Can I make a
That's where
comment?
I'm getting at, my question is, we're talking about a person that both mayors nominated.
Yes,
So it seems like a non-issue to me. It becomes an issue, we're dealing with whether or not there's a ratification of what happened in December, or whether you nominate, and Paul makes the question, how can there be a nomination done? Because the current mayor, but it was done by the prior mayor while he was the sitting mayor.
Mhm.
We can reaffirm acts of the prior council.
Well, since I was not reaffirming the acts of the prior council, I'm not choosing to do that.
Okay.
But
So then are you moving back to item 7?
yes,
Make a motion. Make a motion, if there's a second, then put it to the vote.
Okay.
And they can do that.
okay. Then I make a motion that we return to item 7 on the agenda since we have now addressed item 10 and item 16. And we are now back
Second.
to 7. A vote?
So are you saying that item 10 and 16 are dead? That we can't consider those?
We just did.
I don't think we did. You didn't have a discussion of the council.
On
We-
item 10, I asked if anyone had anything to say.
But you didn't wait for anyone to respond because I didn't get a chance.
Okay, well, what would you like to say then on item 10 about the letter, Heath Snow's letter?
Well, the attorney, Keith, recognized that there was a problem with it, but it's a very minor, insignificant problem because a resolution was just not filled out and signed. But everything to do properly was done. And this type of thing has upset me for many years in my prior life, when certain things happened because of someone didn't dot an I or cross a T. An attorney would find that and throw things out. And that's what I see happening here. Whether or not what the previous mayor did, people think is legal or not, it is legal. He followed the law. He followed everything that should have been done except for one thing. And that didn't make it, all it was signing a form saying what had happened was legitimate, and he didn't do that. And I think that we should, as a council, you should vote to have that form signed, whether it is by the existing mayor or can be signed by the previous mayor that happened during his term. That's my opinion. And I know this is going to make some people upset in the audience and on this council, and I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel.
So you don't have anything to say? Misty anymore?
Not on item 10,
No, yeah, I'm talking about item 10. We'll go back to 16 in just a minute.
that's what I'm missing.
Oh, okay. All right. So I have on the agenda that we were going to accept public comment after we just, what's the motion? Move back to item 7.
Was there a second?
Yes,
There was a
there was a
second.
second. So
There was a second, but we did not vote because you wanted to talk about item 10.
Right.
But we were doing 10 and 16 together. So let's go ahead and talk about 16 while we're at it, before we go on with our.
Can we do that when the motion is on for 10?
The motion was for both 10 and
Well, okay.
16.
So are you
withdrawing your
withdrawing
motion?
your motion?
Yeah, I will withdraw the
then I
motion.
withdraw
We
my
can
second.
continue our discussion. Okay. So go on with what you want to talk about on item 16, Misty.
So you're proposing to remove them and make them a dead item, make number 16 a dead item. If I
Yeah,
understand the
Yeah,
concept.
basically.
Okay, so the letter was given out to the commission.
Yeah, I gave it to
And
everybody.
so, as such, the commission will read the letter and see that there is a deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And so the commission submitted a remedy to that deficiency. And the commission, more than two or three can submit that. And so I think that it should be heard because three of your commission members asked that it be submitted because there was a remedy given by the attorney to fix this, to make sure that we're all following our checks and balances. So that is what I feel like it should be heard. And I feel like that, when an avenue is given, if it can remedy the situation, we should take it.
Okay. Do you have anything to say on 16?
Same, it's exactly my concern. I think that this is a very minor mistake that was made, nobody intentionally did this, and I think the spirit of the law is this is what the previous council tried to do and tried to do right. It was not, it was an inadvertent mistake, and the attorney recognizes that by saying, this is the deficiency, here's how you
Leroy, anything to say on 16?
No, I feel the same way the other two do.
I was going to come to you.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Paul?
Yeah, my comments is that we must follow our ordinance. And our ordinance requires that it be done by resolution. Now, the attorney gave us one solution, and the prerogative lies with the mayor as to whether she wants to proceed with that solution or make her own appointments because it's appointed by the mayor. And so far, I don't view it's my understanding that the other two have been told that they're not on the planning commission. So their appointments have been revoked. Therefore, whichever way the mayor goes, she's got to make those appointments, and she has not yet appointed individuals for those spots. So resolution item 16 can't proceed until there's an appointment by the mayor, one way or another.
Are we on item 16?
Yes, we were doing 10 and 16 together. You wanted to address 10 and 16 before we did 7.
So you're doing both of them as a single.
Well, we talked about 10, and now we're talking about 16.
There's no motion on the table now? Where's
No.
the motion?
No,
Motion to adjourn.
just doing discussion.
All right, well, I'm gonna make a motion. My motion is that we accept the remedy that's been outlined in this document. And I move to adopt the written resolution affirming what the previous council decided regarding these council sequence commission seats.
A point of order?
Yes.
And in my understanding, it's a point of order. I can interrupt a motion to talk about it. Are we going to take public comment before we do the motion, or do the motion then take public comment?
In the past, all my things at this point have been to accept public comment before we do a motion and vote. Okay. There's still a motion on the table.
So would you be willing to withdraw that until we have public comment and then make the motion?
I'll withdraw that.
So before we take public comment, I want to respond to Misty and Jean. You cannot, my point is that because the seats are technically vacant, you cannot put this on the agenda and vote these people in and reaffirm them without the mayor making the nomination. And I am not making that nomination. Therefore, without the mayor making the nomination, there is nothing for the town council to vote on. I do not need your advice and consent because I haven't asked for advice and consent. I'm not going to make the nomination.
Would you like my opinion on that, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. The point that was made in my letter, the deficiency was that it was not in a resolution form.
Yes.
As required by our ordinance.
Mhm.
Okay. There was an appointment that was made. And there was a consenting vote made by the council appointment was made by the city mayor at the time. The consenting vote was made. It was not put in the resolution form. Okay? So you can ratify a prior act.
Yes.
That does not, and that's what the motion is, to ratify a prior act. You're getting caught up on the concept of, I need to be able to nominate him because I am now the city mayor.
Correct. The seats are vacant. You agreed a little while ago that those seats are vacant.
No, I didn't agree. I said there was a deficiency in the process. And we're trying to remedy the process. What I think we're getting at is that we're talking about a process that was started in December.
Yes?
Now we have a transition in the council. Okay? We're trying to complete the process with the ratifying vote. You're getting caught up that, no, it failed.
Right.
And so there is a vacancy. And now, because there's a vacancy, I get to appoint. And I'm not saying that you do get to appoint on all vacancies. The question is that there was a deficiency in the process. There were appointments made by the then sitting mayor, and there was a consenting vote taken. Just was not memorialized in a written resolution, which identified the seat and the term.
I thought you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was going to follow up with a question, if that's all right. I don't want to interrupt the conversation.
Go ahead.
Heath, with that though, the question I think is more particular to, is the seats vacant because the mayor revoked the appointments? So I understand your statement about the deficiency in correcting it, but in this particular case, there was a revocation of those seats by the mayor of the previous mayor's appointment. So then.
I did not send you copies of the letter. I wrote them letters and letting them know that I considered the seat vacant, that their appointment was not valid and that their seats were vacant.
So we have a vacancy now would be the question that, can the mayor, first of all, revoke those seats, and then second of all, make a new nomination?
Simple training here. You revoke a resolution with a resolution. You revoke an ordinance with an ordinance. You revoke an appointment the same way you make the appointment. The mayor has certain powers in a five-member council form of government, but the mayor is just a voting member of the council.
I understand where you're going. All I did was I wrote a letter to them and said that I considered it invalid and
So her letter-
vacant, and that we would talk
Her
about
letter,
it
to
today.
answer your question, her letter considering that they're not, that their nominate, their appointment and ratification was not proper, is not, the mayor cannot unilaterally revoke. That's a council decision. It's a council decision. The same body, because it's a two-part thing. Yes, the mayor, just like, hey, let's look at the Supreme Court or whatever. President appoints, Congress ratifies the appointment. Mayor appoints, council ratifies. It's a two-part process, okay? So she can't unilaterally do, a mayor cannot unilaterally do what takes two parts to do to appoint them.
I think there's a question there as to whether those appointments were sufficient without the resolution. That's and does she then have the right to revoke those positions? So do you need the resolution to have everything effective, or does she have the right to revoke those before the resolution is passed?
My recommendation is that there be a ratification approved by approving a written resolution, which was not done. So I'm not sure if I understand, Paul, what your question is are you trying to ask me, is there a vacancy?
Yes, no, if you're looking at that, it requires by law to have a resolution of appointment, and then until you have that resolution of appointment,
The appointment has not been completed.
the appointment has not been completed, and until that appointment's been completed, can the mayor revoke that appointment? And so that's the question. She revoked that appointment, and
She says she didn't. She said she wrote a letter. You're calling it a revocation.
I'm calling, and I have not seen the letters. It's just my understanding as to the process that went on, so.
My understanding is the mayor appointed and the city council in December voted for those positions to be there. It isn't completed, but the new mayor can't come in and unilaterally remove them without the vote of the council.
I did not remove them. What I said was that I considered their appointment invalid and therefore was never completed. And it was, and that the seat is vacant. That is my approach.
I'd like to use the term it's incomplete. The appointment is incomplete at this point in time. It is. It's incomplete. The process is not completely following. And I'm not saying that we have to go one way or another. I'm just saying, no one is denying we haven't had them sit, we haven't had them vote.
Right?
Because the appointment, we haven't.
And that's why I wrote the letter when I did.
Yeah, the appointment is incomplete at this point in time. There's a deficiency in
So
that.
this is to ratify that.
And so you're saying that the three people can put this on the agenda, even though this was incomplete, I consider the seats vacant. And you're saying they're not vacant. Okay, well then, are they or are they not?
That decision needs to be made by the council.
No.
He's stating
Why?
that. He's stating that.
You don't have that power, Jeannie.
I have the legal argument, but okay.
Mayor,
Go
may I suggest, and maybe what we do is we delay this until next month to allow Heath a chance to research that revocation issue instead of flying off and trying to figure out what the facts are, what they are, what the law is. And I would request a legal opinion, as to what your research shows. And then we hold off 7C until next meeting.
Is it really legal not to have a standing planning and zoning commission? That's what I've heard, that you have to have one.
Well, hold on. It seems to me like 7C can occur and there's no issue with that. That'll give us a whole sufficient, a body sufficient.
Yeah.
Yes, if we vote on 7A and B, we will have a quorum. In the, with item 7, we will have a quorum of a plan.
So what we're saying is that we're going to let the appointees that Mayor Spindlove made sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission this month?
That's not what we're saying at all.
Well, that's what I'm interpreting when you say there's 7 there.
No, from a 7, item 7 on the agenda.
Okay.
The alternate would probably be the third. Is what they're saying.
Okay.
I want to get back to, so are we saying that it's not being revoked?
This is
that
what,
something that she was revoking?
The question of my research is whether the mayor has a unilateral right to revoke an action done by a prior council, appointment done by a prior council.
it's an, yes, yes.
You guys,
Yeah.
I get everyone feels very strong on this issue. I'm no dog in this fight. But, you know what I'm saying? I'll research it.
Yeah, and I think that would be helpful on that.
One put my motion back.
Okay, wait.
Exactly as it was.
There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
If we proceed, I know there's we can discuss it further. We've had a motion and a second. We can still discuss.
My question was, are we going to take public comment at all on this?
Yeah, I'm not done.
Okay.
One of the things I brought up when I met with you was the concept of the in quo warranto proceeding. That you said you didn't want to have to go there, but I have done some research. And if this is, this goes through, I still want I still would prefer that Heath resolve this question that we have, that is, you wanted to have a resolution of the question of 10 and 16 before we went to 7, and we do not have a resolution of 10 and 16. And we were asking Heath to give us further legal research, especially on the topic of 16. And there are proceedings if I think someone is unlawfully holding public office, that I can ask for a legal proceeding to clarify that. So we can either let Heath review this a little bit for another month, or if you proceed with the vote, then I'm going to ask for this legal proceeding to determine if he's unlawfully holding public office, if these two.
The two planning commissioners?
Yes,
So you are individually as a resident.
Going to make-
action
yes.
against the town.
yes. And so I'm just saying that would be, why can I not?
You can.
Okay.
I'm just simply asking if that's
Yes.
what you're,
That's what I'm talking about.
but I guess we need to have another item for executive.
Executive session. So I just wanted to point out that what is the harm of letting Heath look at this for a little longer?
I think he
If we're
addressed
going-
this completely in the letter.
I don't think he did.
We are splitting hairs because you want 2 seats that were already filled. That's my opinion on it, and that's why I've got the motion.
Okay, well, I do not think I have any obligation to go forward with the actions that were, I don't think I have any obligation to ratify the actions that were taken last month. The intent was to make it difficult for me to go forward with the reasons why I was elected. And this was to sabotage me from being able to do what I wanted to do. And I don't think I have a reason to have to go to, I don't think I have an obligation to support that.
You don't have
And
to-
that's my
In 2
intention.
years, you'll be able to fill those 2 more seats.
Yes.
The seats that are on those qualified individuals in this town have a right to represent us as much as anybody else.
All right. So we have a motion and a second, and now we will take public comment. So if anybody has anything they want to say, or you want us to just move on, you don't have to make any public comment. Let me get this ready for you, Cameron. I've been
Take
sitting
3
here
minutes, I
struggling
can
with this
guarantee
darn
it.
thing. Go. Okay.
Cameron Spenlove. So I just wanted to speak real quick to item number 16 and the appointments that were made last December. And then to what took place so that everyone understood what happened and why it happened. So there was 2 seats that were halfway through their term. They have 2 more years on their term. One was Misty Baird's, and then one was Dean Woods. So Misty Baird resigned her seat because she was elected to council, so she resigned her seat for that reason. Dean Woods resigned his seat because his boy was just accepted into the Olympic pipeline soccer program. And so he was not going to have time for his duties within the Planning and Zoning Commission. And that's why he resigned his seat, was for that reason. And his boy was accepted in November. And then as far as the appointments were made, I don't mind working with them. I don't mind working with anyone. I've already spoken with a couple of the other people that have been proposed to be put on the commission, and I'm excited to work with them as well. And so I just wanted to address why those seats were vacated and then filled. Thank you.
My name is Pat Galvez. If there are ordinances or state statutes or previous resolutions or guidelines that the town council needs to follow, for example, the agenda being put together 10 days, 7 days, 24 hours. The town council needs to follow what it should be following. If there is a deficiency found on this situation, then the procedures at that time were not followed. You need to follow the procedures or properly change the procedures before you act on them. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alice Ritter. I think you know where I live. This is not, and I'm not an expert in legal issues, and this would be on the federal level. So this is not something that's necessarily applying to state level or municipal, but just in terms of the question of advice and consent and the executive branch, the legislative branches and their functions. There was a proposal, a nomination by, I believe it was Barack Obama, for Merrick Garland to Supreme Court. That was brought up before the Senate, and the Senate chose not to exercise their advice and consent role. And in spite of the fact that the president, the executive, had made that nomination. So the nomination is there standing in the air. The next administration comes along, and the previous Senate, that body that was the legislative body associated with that particular executive who made the nomination, the new Senate body is a different Senate body. They considered that to be, and the President Trump considered that to be a void, a vacancy. And so he exercised his ability as an executive to propose and nominate a new person for the Supreme Court, in spite of the fact that there was this other nomination that had been made by Barack Obama. Now, the new Senate could have possibly done that, but the executive decided that it was actually void, and so he made a new nomination. That nomination for Merrick Garland died, and it died because the previous legislative body that was the body associated with the former administration no longer existed, which brings up the question of whether this new legislative body has the ability to revive a nomination that died because it died on the vine. It was growing. There was a partial affirmation, but the law said that it must have been affirmed by a resolution. a resolution written by the body that was associated with that particular executive who made the nomination. So it sounds to me like it died on the vine and it's vacant. So it sounds to me like the current executive has the ability to make a nomination because the previous one died the same way that Merrick Garland's nomination died the moment January came along. That's my thought.
Kent Peterson.
Go ahead.
What it seems like to me is that it's a perfect time to do something that's not done anymore. And that's to find a way to compromise. It's to find a way to put the council together and say, okay, a formula, and I don't know the formula. The formula might be that each of the council members pick somebody that was appointed on this technicality that didn't work, and you're arguing the technicality, and she's arguing the technicality. That, you know, come to a compromise and find a way to say, okay, she's going to appoint some new ones now, or she's nominated some that have going to be set up. That's not right. Sworn in today, and so she's got some people, and the argument between the people who aren't in favor of what happened of the election is that they want to have their control over that and what was done in December. Get together a couple of heads for a week or two and find a way to compromise with it so that for 2 years there may not be one side having a majority on the planning and zoning. I guarantee you Cameron and I can figure out what can be done as far as planning and zoning can be done, can take care of, and all those that are on the board. We'll be able to talk it out and make recommendations to you. But this is what's going on with our Congress that's wrong. This is that polarization because they want to fight for what they believe in. And that's what you want to do, is fight for what you believe in and what you did in this case and what you voted on and approved. So it's a great time to make a compromise. How much time do I have?
You've got about 20 seconds.
I don't have time for this story.
Actually, yeah, you've got about 30 seconds there. I was wrong.
I'll tell you if you want to know the story, but it's time for a compromise to get things done so that we don't keep shuffling our feet and we can move on and take care of this town. There obviously people wanted to make some changes this year. There are obviously people who didn't want to make changes, but let's work out a compromise.
Just for the record, Kent, I did offer a compromise, almost exactly with what you proposed. Not tonight, previously. Okay, anybody else?
Bill Swenson, and I concur with Kent. I wanted to get up and say pretty much what he said just before he did, that the chasm is getting wider. This town has problems. We need to get along. We need to work together. Okay, maybe there was a mistake made. Let's realize that. Let's talk about it. Let's get together and make things happen in this town, because the chasm doesn't need to get wider. It needs to get narrower. And it doesn't look like it's headed that way right now tonight, but hopefully we can make things happen maybe tonight or in the future. But to delay some of these things happening, don't let it happen. We need to make a decision. We need to come together as a town, even if we have to give a little bit. Okay? We can't always have it our own way. So, thank you.
Okay. Crystal, before she talks, would you put that map up that I'd asked you to put up? Okay, go.
My name is Ruth Ackerman. I know we all need changes, but I'm going to tell you a scenario. If I got a raise and everybody knew I got my raise and got promoted, I'm going to use you for scenario, but you didn't like it. And you're going to change it and you're going to give it to somebody else. That's not fair to me. But the council, everybody in the whole room also agreed to it. That's not fair. That made me feel bad. So I don't think those other ones who were appointed to those things just because of a little technicality, I think they're still entitled to at least get their job, their raise anyway. You still have one seat to pick. And they only had a couple of years left. I mean, they got told now they don't have their seat. That's not fair. But I do believe in changes, but I don't believe in telling somebody they don't have their job anymore either. Thanks.
Darlene Pope, I have a point of clarification. It's my understanding, because I was at the meeting when Mr. Spenlove became mayor, there were 3 open seats. So it seems logical that Jean Kraus would have the same. So what concerns me is that someone resigned to be appointed and not allow this mayor the same opportunity that the former mayor and all mayors before had. And so that's what I struggle with.
Okay, Sean Ammett. Kind of see this issue as a attack on me personally, because we know who was appointed at that time. Now, I want to clarify, I am not one side or the other. And I know some people hate me for the decisions I make, but I make my decisions based on principle. Now, basic principle I follow is liberty. Okay, not the liberty of the libertarian, but liberty that comes from obedience by the laws of God and the laws of nature. Okay, if our laws violate that, if what we're proposing violate that, I'm going to be against it. Doesn't matter what side I am on. Okay, I wanted to clarify that. I've spent a long time, not just the last 4 years, but the previous 10 before that, coming to almost every meeting. And sometimes I'd get a comment, sometimes I would not. I would talk to council members after, I would talk to them before. I would be involved. It's great to finally see that we've got a crowd at a meeting. I was at lots of planning and zoning meetings where there was no one from the public. So it's good to see that we have that. We've come together, okay? We can not compromise, because I don't want to compromise a position. I want to collaborate. I want to work with people. You want to be a successful mayor? I know how to write ordinances. I know how to make things simple. If you want a law, the best way to make a law respected is to make it respectable. I know how to do that. So I don't see why this is a hard thing to say, let's just reaffirm. It's not just affirm, it's reaffirm what happened previously. I specifically realize there's only 2 years left on that seat. I have about 2 years worth of just definitions that I would like to get through. Okay, and that's important because laws are made with words and words have meaning. And that's what I would like to do is continue that work and help you be successful, not to hurt or play sides, because that's ridiculous. Thanks.
All right, if there's no more public comment, I will.
Mayor, can I address one issue before we take a vote? my concern based on where we're at, and so I'm looking to Heath, because that's one of the reasons I wanted an extra month, is to kind of work through the issues. With the revocation of those two positions, and then if we went ahead with items 16 and appointed them, and the mayor has not made that appointment, this mayor, there becomes an issue that I'm concerned about as to whether they're actually legitimately appointed, and what effect will that have on the immunity for those two people appointed. So I'd hate to lose any immunity because they were not appointed according to a de jure appointment. So I want to make sure we did it right before we proceed, so those two individuals, because I know what the vote is. It's right now, it looks like it's 3 to proceed with item 16. But I want to make sure if we do that, that we actually resolve any immunity issues and any issues on appointment before we go ahead for their benefit.
And I appreciate that. I would look at that if I'm instructed to do so, because you make valid points. And maybe that's one attorney talking to another attorney, but when they're using words like de jure appointments and whether or not that's a waiver of immunity, the governmental immunity that we're given as a town and as the bodies within the town, that is an issue to me.
So I'd make a substitute motion, which I think is proper at this time. Make a substitute motion to refer this back to Heath for an opinion on the two issues, the immunity issue and the issue of the mayor's revocation, and table item 16 until next month.
Before the motion is accepted, I would like to make a comment as a commissioner and a resident at this time, as I sit here trying to control my anger. Please do not attack a person in an open forum. You said that there was a sabotage set with this. My resignation was part of that. My resignation was stated by Cameron Spindler in his comments. My letter was written that way. That is not the way you formed it. I am a resident taking personal offense to a mayor who I have complete faith in, who just attacked a member of her commission or her council in front of an entire audience. I am respecting you. I expect you to respect me as well. You have now attacked Dean Woods, who had the same statements that were given there, because our resignations triggered the appointment. Had those not happened, the appointment wouldn't have happened. I resigned because I have a lot going on in my family right now. And I became a council member because I have a complete passion for this town. And you have just said that my integrity was questionable by resigning. I take extreme offense to that. And I think that when you word your words, you should please try not to offend or attack the few members of your town, as well as the people in your commission. Thank you.
Okay. It was not directed at you. The comment was directed elsewhere. So what I wanted to say before we,
There's a motion on the floor for a substitute, well, a substitute motion, so is there, okay.
I have some comments on that. I am in favor of not wanting to prolong the commission members, both of which are able and capable of being sworn in. If he feels that we need to hold off on this, then I'll consider it, but I can't support your motion because I don't feel like this is such a small deal that these are both good guys who are going to do a good job.
It is a fair, I can appreciate the feelings, Gene. It is a somewhat more complex issue. I need to look at, my job as the town attorney is to keep the town as safe and sound as possible and keep it from any sort of liability for as the town as a whole and members who are appointed or elected officials. So knowing that we likely can have a form so that our planning commission continue to operate. I obviously want to be cautious and we would be willing to look at this issue in more detail, especially the points raised by Paul, if that's what is decided. I mean, I have to be conservative in nature in that regard, because of my position. So,
Okay. So because Kent, and before we vote, I wanted to do a little response to what Kent and, Bill, goodness gracious, I was like looking at him and I couldn't think of his name. He wasn't coming.
I wanted to respond to something that Kent Peterson and Bill Swinson said when they were talking about compromise. And so what I wanted to do, my goal with Planning Commission was to have a Planning Commission, you need to enlarge this just a little bit, was to have a Planning Commission that represented the town. And so what I wanted, we have right now, so with Cameron out here, and so Cameron was out here. I realized I wasn't talking into the microphone, so I'm repeating myself. Sorry. Then I was nominating Kent, who lives up there, up Pocketville Road, and Bronwyn, who lives here in the middle of town. Then, and that gives 3 sections of town that were covered. I proposed that I nominate someone from here that I wanted to nominate, and then I would let the other, Jean and Leroy and Misty choose someone from up here, and that I would then nominate that person from up here, and then we would have someone from here, 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 and here representing the town on the Planning Commission, and that was my goal. Okay. And that we would have the town adequately represented instead of just a few from a clump in the part of town. So that was my goal. All right. Now, given, yes,
Can you can the citizen call for the question?
we're about to vote.
Pardon?
I was just about to ask how, yeah. I know. So now that we have 2 competing motions,
I think you have to vote on the substitute motion first. And
Okay.
if that survives, then
Okay.
that's it. If it
All right.
fails, then we go to the other motion, correct?
okay.
You don't have a second on that motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Jean
did. I seconded. Okay, so let's vote on the substitute motion. Paul?
Aye.
Jean? Jean, yes. Leroy?
No.
Misty?
No.
All right, so then now we will vote on the the first motion. Paul? The first motion?
Yes,
It's.
yep, I know, it's
16.
Jean's motion. I am really concerned about the liability of the town and the 2 individuals that we're going to appoint. So at this stage, without an extra month to work through the decisions and see if we could come to a compromise or get a decision on that, I have to vote no, because I cannot put Sean and Wyatt in a position where there's potential liability and there's potential liability for the town. So I say no.
Jean?
Yes.
And this Jean says no. Leroy?
Yes.
And Misty? Okay, so item number 7, we're now back to item number 7 then. Appointments to the Planning Commission. So I am appointing Bronwyn Wallace. I nominate Bronwyn Wallace to seat number 2 for a 4-year term ending on January 1st, 2026. I make a motion that we approve Bronwyn Wallace to seat number 2 on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I'll second.
Okay. We'll take a vote. Misty? Oh, wait, sorry. Any public comment? Hopefully not. Okay, Misty? Leroy?
Yes.
Jean, yes?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Okay. I nominate Kent Peterson to seat number 4 on the Planning Commission with a 4-year term ending January 1st, 2026. So I make a motion that we approve Kent Peterson to the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Paul?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Jean, yes. Leroy?
Yes.
Misty?
Yes.
And item C has been covered under 16, although there was no written resolution yet
Yeah,
again.
might as well, let's do it.
What?
Let's do 7C.
I mean.
Just go ahead and propose
With
it.
our ordinance, right?
Yeah,
If we have the ability, I've been advocate to ratify and rectify and comply.
well,
I move for the appointment of Angelia Glazier for seat 2, the 4-year term ending January 1st, 2026.
Second.
okay, vote. Misty? Leroy?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes, Jean?
Aye. Yes.
Okay, so then I have a resolution I prepared. So we have approved them, and now I have prepared a resolution. This is item number 8, Resolution 2022-05. That is basically doing by resolution what we just voted on. And this is a resolution for Bronwyn Wallace to fill seat number 2 for 4 years, Kent Peterson filling seat number 4 for 4 years, and Angelia Glazier as an alternate for 4 years.
I move for approval of Resolution 2022-05, appointment to the Planning Commission as we previously voted on.
Second.
Okay, let's do the vote. Paul?
Aye.
Jean? Jean, yes. Leroy?
Aye.
And Misty?
Yes.
Okay. So now I had, hold on. Oh, okay.
Do you want to take a 5-minute break?
We might as well, because the next thing needed Crystal, and she's just talking. She was, I saw her come in. Unless she got tired and left. Is she way back there? Do you see her? Okay, I was gonna say, I saw her come in. Oh, there she is, way back there. I'm gonna ask if we can continue everything else. Yes.
So I assume we're at a 5-minute break?
Paul, come here.
Hi, sweet baby. Oh, you're not done. All right. Are you still over there at Sean's? I'm sleeping here. I was sleeping.
You miss her? Yeah, I got some.
I'm just trying to see if my kids are home so they can. Right there.
Also, they can come.
I was going to-
Yeah. Oh, you were, okay. The light on the steps stopped working.
That's what he was telling
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna make a motion that we put everything off, the rest of this off until next month, because we still have a closed meeting to talk to. And given the time, so I just want you to know
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion.
No, that's okay.
That everything else
I-
go to next month.
I don't have the bids, all the bids in anyway.
Oh, okay.
And so I was just gonna say, tell them that these are things that the town's been working on
Yeah.
for the public's opinion, so we
Okay.
can wait.
Okay, and then this, you were like, why you don't like it? You don't want to change the logo?
No, I really,
Why?
I've done some this building has such historical meaning to all the residents that are from the pioneers.
So what if we were to ask for a new town logo involving this little church?
That would be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we
See?
could change this for next month to say
Yeah.
a town logo, but we want it to somehow involve this building.
Right, I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
This building was asked to be built by Brigham Young,
Oh, okay.
and it was during the Black Hawk Wars.
Okay.
And this was the
Oh, yeah,
second,
'cause-
this is the second chapel that was built in this area in Washington County.
Okay.
And
And I think this used to be like a fort or gathering
Yeah, what-
place.
what
That's
they
what's
did
in,
is-
that's what's in the
yeah,
logo.
Brigham Young had this built as a chapel, as a church, and as a fort until the war was over.
You can come,
I just wanted to congratulate you on your winning the election.
and you are?
I'm Jeff Lee, so I'm.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to tell you congratulations.
Okay.
I know that.
I've been sitting here wondering who you were, because I see you through the meeting, I was like, who is that guy?
Yeah, I guess we're
Okay.
neighbors, so.
Yeah,
Yeah. You probably remember his brother, Ryan.
yeah. Well, they were both here with the
Yeah,
presentation.
Look forward to talking more. Congratulations.
Okay.
A little bit heated today, and as an outsider.
Well, I knew it was
Well,
going to
it's-
be
yeah,
heated. I knew it was.
that was
I was
gonna happen.
prepared.
Let's see, so maybe I just want to say
Okay,
congratulations.
all right. So I'm gonna make a motion after we get back that, I'm gonna make a motion that we just put everything else onto next month's agenda so we can do the closed meeting and go home.
And then you want a motion for an executive meeting.
Oh, well, yeah,
After
there is
that,
that.
yeah.
After that is the motion. for
Or you
closed
could
meeting.
make that in your motion.
No, well, there it is. Put everything else in, we go to a closed meeting and get this, so we can go to a closed meeting and go home.
Right.
So, I did not, huh?
I've been here all day.
Yeah, really. I did not expect that discussion to go near as long as it did. I thought it would go for like 30 minutes, not a freaking hour.
I gotta get another 3 hours.
No, I don't. I don't.
I got some candy, I got you guys chocolate.
Well,
I
that was-
did.
that was
Thank you.
for-
Well, it's what you said here. It's what you said on this, you know?
Bittersweet symphony.
Yeah, same thing.
These are yours, right?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay. I want to make sure I didn't.
I like the way you're.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have any problem with this being part of it.
Do you think it's really gonna be that much?
No. Yes, I think it will. Oh, yes, that is yours. My experience. I don't know how long this closed meeting is. Okay, well.
Yeah. Why don't we get the meeting started?
And then you can,
She's going to discontinue the rest of the meeting until next time.
until next month, because
So-
we still
yeah.
have to do a closed meeting.
I told her that about the feeling for this here being part of the logo. So next time she's going to revise this and say she wants a new logo, but she wants this building included in it. So if she does that,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
All right.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we could get people started on it. Have it ready for February. Does that make sense? What do you think?
I'm just gonna push everything off, but that's it. That's it.
Hit it hard. You're right, right. Yeah, Kent and Bronwyn are here.
Yes, but I'll. Okay, thank you, I like that. Sorry. Okay, we're back. We're going to swear in, Ronald Wallace and Ted Peterson. Crystal will do that, and then I'm gonna talk about one other thing on the agenda that's gonna continue everything else to, I will make a motion to continue everything else to February so that we can get to our closed meeting. We still have to do it. Otherwise, we'll be here for a bit of time. So first thing we want to do is swear in Ronald Wallace and Ted Peterson. So if you two would come up here, and Crystal will do the swearing in. Oh, you know what? They just run out of juice. It's okay.
Do you want to use this one?
Got it. Okay, let's do Bronwyn. Good. gonna stand. Raise your right hand, please.
Yeah.
Repeat after me. I, Bronwyn Wallace, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you.
May I suggest that you turn the other way so the TV can get you? Is that the way it works?
Well, we've
the camera?
got 3 of them.
Oh, you got 3?
We've got 3
So it doesn't matter?
cameras, so
Okay,
we're good. Just rotate around in the middle.
Do you want to stand
No,
over
no,
here?
I can't. Okay, Kent, raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Kent Peterson,
I, Kent Peterson,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Okay, so you heard me say that I was going to be making a motion to continue everything else to the next month. Okay, the only thing we're going to talk about real quick, and then everything else, we're going to make a motion to move to next month. The only thing we're going to talk about real quick is item number 12, which is discussion and approval for a townwide art contest to revise the Virgin Town logo. Leroy and I talked about this just a little bit when we were having our break. And he told me the centrality to this building, to the identity of town residents. And so I would propose, as part of this townwide art contest, that we would ask that any logo include this building in it. So would that make you, will that satisfy what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So if do you guys have any comments about about revising the logo?
I do have a question. I assume that, what's the reward for the person that's selected with the?
They get noted that they designed the logo.
Okay.
That's their reward. Yep.
I actually spent 15 minutes and turned into 3 hours with Winnie Brinkerhoff today, which, if you know, talking with Winnie, she's gonna tell you. But a couple of key points that she brought up that I thought were interesting about this building. This building was built in 1866, 156 years old. And it was used not only as a church and a meeting hall, but at one point during the Black Hawk Wars, this building was kind of a shelter in place. It was built as a shelter in place for the entire town to come to protect themselves. And it is the central point. So if we're going to try to put a restriction on the art logo, the idea is this needs to be a center point of the logo, okay, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
It's 20-year-old logo.
Yeah, this building was also used for Rockdale and during the Black Wars, and they all would come here. So it was the only building, and this at one time for them and Virgin and all the other little towns, it was the only meeting place they had for their church and their school. It was used as a school too. So this building has some real historical value to this community and especially to those descendants of the original settlers. Yeah.
So any public comment about this before I make a motion? And here we go. Okay, let's see.
I'm Darwin Hall. I'd just like to say that I like the logo the way it is. I don't see any time, why spend time and energy changing something that's already good, in my opinion.
That was good. That was like 5 seconds.
Do you have a picture of it to show?
The current logo, I'm, no, that's not it.
Although you guys notice those hills are low.
Oh, yeah, hold on. We'll show you it live.
He's gonna grab the magnet.
He's gonna grab the magnet off the truck. Yes.
No, it would be.
Aren't they what?
That's the current logo, that little, yeah.
I want the church. I'd like to have that. Do you have it? The church had some.
Mayor, could I say something?
Yes.
Say your name, please.
My name is Shirlene Hall. I am a 3-generation Virginite, and I love this building. I just have to say that I am so glad that you did what you're doing, Jean, because it is this building is so important to me, but it's been a source of pride and identity for the whole area, not just Virgin, but the whole area, because like Leroy said, for a while, all of the towns had to come here during the Black Hawk War to quote fort up, and they were supposed to build a fort, and so they made. It's just, I don't know, and I feel like it is kind of, if we don't use it, all we can. It's like taking the Twin Towers out of New York, you know. This was the main highway. It was the central part of town at one time. And the more we use this symbol, the more it's going to actually remind people that it's here and they can come and use it. And so we'll get income from it, you know. And it was like what I heard tonight. I didn't even know you were going to talk about that. I just came to bare my heart to you about this church. As visitors come in here, if they're thinking about it, if their minds are open to such things, they'll see that almost every town has a little building that looks just about like this. And this is part of, you know, and just like the towns came together to build this building, and it was the first one built on east of St. George, they came together. And they were one. They united in their efforts. They united in their labor. They united as one people. And as I work to make this building stay here, I hope we were united when we were working on this building. Everybody in town was helping us. Okay.
Yeah, you did most of the work. So the one thing I was going to ask that before we make the motion and vote on this then is I was planning for Crystal to put this in the newsletter that's going to be coming out here in the next week. And so you'll say that what we're restricting, the logo needs to include this building in there, whatever design people submit. It needs to have this building in the proposed design. Okay, so I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the idea of the town-wide art contest, which provides the Virgin Town logo with the restriction that this building is the central focal point of that logo. And drop the newsletter, we can see it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, so now I am making a motion myself that everything else on the agenda be continued to next month because it is now 9:30. We've been here 3 hours. And we still have to have a closed meeting.
Second.
May I make a friendly suggestion and see if you accept it, except for maybe open forum, because we want to let the public have, if somebody's here that's been waiting 3.5 hours to say something unrelated to agenda item, I want to give them the opportunity.
Okay.
So there was so if that's friendly and the second's all right
You
with it,
amended my motion. Okay.
well.
Why don't you just amend it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to amend the motion that we move everything else remaining on the agenda, except for open forum, to next month's agenda. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the open forum really quick. Anybody have anything they want to say before we make a motion to close the meeting?
I used to take 2 bites of the apple, but I'm
Uh-oh,
Darwin Hall.
okay.
It'll be quick. I think our taxes built the roads and they shouldn't shut a road down for any bike race. I love bikers, but I don't like bikers when they're on their bikes, especially if they're in the roadway. Thank you.
And that was not 2 bites of the apple, because we didn't have public comment on that, so he's right there. Thank you, Doug.
Ms. Sean Emmett, as customary in the past for newly elected and new officials, I've given a complimentary copy of the law by Frederick Bastiat. Some very important principles that he wrote in 1850 still apply today. So I'll give those copies out to new people and anybody in the audience. I've got a few extra copies tonight if you also want a copy. Thanks.
There is a paper in your folder, comment that was submitted. If you would like to read that, it's the very last one.
Okay. All right, let me find it. I put my stuff away. Oh, it is? Yeah, why don't you read it? You have it right there. I will find it otherwise.
I want this to begin. Okay, so this comment is
Pull it down.
from.
You're too short. There you go.
I'm trying to grow. It's just going the wrong way. Okay, so Wanda Leverett sent this into the, to have a comment on open forum. There are numerous active development projects. However, there is little published information about the status of these projects. Periodic updates and published information as to the status of the projects would be beneficial. One-off conversations being little value to the community as a whole. I routinely submit grammar requests related to the Larrabee project, and not a single piece of documentation has been added to the file since my first request in April 2021. It would be of value to understand the status of such projects without everyone having to personally call Gene, and they're referencing Gene Garotti, not Mayor Gene. While he has stated he welcomes these calls, it is not an efficient use of his time, nor does it keep the entire community informed. Regards, Wanda Leverett.
Right, so that's the end of the forum, and so now I made the motion that we continue everything else on the agenda, that would be items 11, 13, 14, and 15 to next month's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and now
I
we
make,
need a motion.
you make a motion to close the meeting and open executive session.
You need to state purposes, threats,
I have here is to discuss current and potential future litigation. Is that good enough, Keith? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Unless we need a roll call vote for that? No. Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least she has another lady up here, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, talk loud.
I'm gonna leave a flashlight on the steps.
You want me to pick it up?
You can just turn it off and then it's just enough and I'll get it tomorrow morning. Or you can take it off, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay. Did you get any water samples done?
And the other one is over there.
This meeting with me, we're going through.
Okay.
With that machine. And I will end up getting as many samples I need to get up.
Right then when he's going through. Are you using strips?
No, that's a machine that not all the parts.
Okay, that's that machine that blocks.
And I went in, sample.
Oh.
So I didn't get a chance to go today because of everything else going on.
Yeah.
But I will, he said that he has things to, everything that I need to get that movie.
When's he coming? Tomorrow or next week?
Probably tomorrow's
Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Thursday. It may be this week or the beginning of next week. He was in Salt Lake.
When you got there. I'm just concerned that we're getting the end of the first month. Yeah.
I need 3 samples a week. 12 samples.
Yeah, so if you can get 3 samples starting in February, you can get through and get them all done by the end of March.
Yes.
Good.
So I'm watching it very close. but
Okay.
I just need to this machine.
Yeah.
Show me what I got it and then, I go with an actual. Well, I'll probably come over to your house and say, "Give me a sample."
You can.
All right.
Okay. And you're okay for the first of February?
Yes, it's the first of March that you'll have to do it.
Okay. Yeah, just remind me. Because you know, I'm 79. Yeah, but that's a month away. I'm just kind of like you. I got to be reminded. Yeah. Right. Do you ever watch NCIS? Well, the guy in charge took a note off the calendar and stuck it on one of the guys right here, and it just covered his whole face. He says, "Well, who's going to do that?" So he took the note off and put it on his face. Yeah. So, yeah.